Yo, what is up guys? It is G with EastSideMiniMobberz, and in this video, we're going to be installing a Stage 1 kit on our Predator 212 Monster Moto project. Let's go! So if you guys have not seen the previous videos, we removed our fully built Stage 4 Predator 212 from this bike as we're going to be doing a full revamp and rebuild, and in the meantime, we installed a brand new Predator 212. We also did some testing with this engine to see how much speed and how much power we could get out of a stock Predator 212. In the previous videos, we did a governor bypass, we removed the throttle limiting screw, we also did an airbox modification there. But now at this point, it has reached its limits. We need to do a real Stage 1 kit. So in this video, we're gonna be removing the governor completely from inside of the engine. We're gonna be doing a oil sensor delete. We're gonna be installing a Mikuni style carburetor, and we are going to be installing a header pipe on this Predator 212. So with all that being said, let's just get straight into the video. Here is our 26mm Mikuni style carburetor. This is going to give us a big boost in power and tunability. And here is our beautifully chromed header pipe with a muffler on there. It's going to give us a really great sound. So now let's go ahead and get this engine removed from the bike, and let's get to work with a little bit of editing magic. And just like that, our engine is removed from the frame. Now, let's go ahead and get the engine up on the bench and get to work. Now that we got our engine on the bench, we're gonna get straight to work. The first thing we're gonna do is drain the oil. Alrighty, now I'm gonna drain the oil by removing this 10mm drain plug here. Go ahead and let the oil drain, and I'm just catching it in a catch can here, just so I can dispose of this properly. Now with the oil all drained out, we can go ahead and clean this up and reinstall our drain bolt, and then just snug it up. Now that the oil is all drained out of the engine, we can go ahead and start working on the carburetor side of things. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this clip here and pull this vent line off of this gas tank. Now we can go ahead and remove the two 10mm bolts holding on the airbox, and just like that, we can walk the airbox off. Make sure you grab the hose at the very back that's connected to the overhead valves and pull that off. And just like that, our super restrictive stock airbox can come off. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and remove this throttle arm here that's connected to the governor arm, which goes to the carburetor. It just slides up and out just like that, along with the spring that's on here. So now that's disconnected. And now I'm going to go ahead and disconnect my fuel line and drain the gas that's in here. Go ahead and use your pliers to remove this clip that's holding on the fuel line. And just like that, with the fuel line disconnected, our carburetor can come right off and we can let our fuel drain. Now we can go ahead and remove our insulator plate with the gasket that's on there. And just like that, that'll come off. Now to remove our old carburetor head studs, just go ahead and use the two 10mm nuts that you took off and just jam them together, and then you should be able to grab the inside one and loosen it just like that. And we'll do the same thing for the other side. And just like that, both of the studs are removed. Now I can go ahead and remove this whole throttle assembly here, as the Mikuni carburetor and the governor delete is going to be doing away with this whole setup here. So I'm going to go ahead and remove my spring that's held on to my exhaust here. And then there's two 8mm bolts holding this whole assembly on. And just like this, that whole assembly can come off, and we can unhook the spring from the back side that's held on to the governor arm, just like that. So we can do away with this whole assembly here. Now we can go ahead and remove our exhaust, and the exhaust is held on by two 13mm nuts. And just like that, the exhaust can come off along with the gasket. Now we can go ahead and remove our gas tank. There's one 8mm bolt at the very back side, and then there's two 10mm at the front. And just like that, our gas tank can come up and off. And check it out, bare bones engine now with the gas tank off. And you can pretty much see what my governor bypass looked like. Just two zip ties around the spring, which pretty much allows the governor arm to not pull back on the carburetor, and then shuts your throttle off. So that's what a governor bypass does. It works good, but a real governor delete is even better. So now let's go ahead and remove this whole governor arm assembly with this 10mm nut. Go ahead and remove the nut and the T-bolt, and then put a screwdriver in here and pry this apart, and you should be able to just slide right up on that arm, and it should come off just like that. Now with the governor arm off, we can go ahead and open up the side of the engine now, and there is 6 10mm bolts holding on this side cover. We're going to go ahead and remove right now. Go ahead and put some napkins down. Even though we did drain the oil, still some oil will come out of the side cover. And go ahead and remove the bolts. Now we should be able to just grab the side cover right where the dipsticks are at, and it should just wiggle straight off, just like that. Perfect. And you can see the gasket didn't make a mess on the side cover at all, and it looks like it's just going to peel right off, so that's perfect. No gasket to scrape off. Now we can go ahead and work off our old gasket. Alrighty, now with our gasket material all removed, it's nice and clean. The first thing I'm going to go ahead and do that's really internal in the engine is I'm going to do a oil sensor delete. So how you can do that is just on the outside here, you can see this yellow wire, which is coming from the block. That is the wire to our oil sensor, so we can go ahead and just cut that with some nice wire cutters, nice and flush with the stud there. And on the very back side, if you go inside the engine, you can see where it comes out into the block. You can go ahead and just cut that wire that's sticking out there. And then now that that's cut, there is two 8mm bolts holding in the oil sensor to the bottom of the crankcase. We can go ahead and remove those. So in order to get to one of those bolts, I am going to have to take the cam out, which is no big deal. I'll have to just reset the timing on the cam to the crankshaft, and I'll also have to make sure the lash on my valve springs is good as well, which we can do that later. So now with our cam out, we have access to those two bolts holding in the oil sensor. And you can see the lifters will come out, so you can go ahead and just slide these out and put them to the side. Now we can remove the two 8mm bolts holding in the oil sensor, and just like that, our oil sensor can come out and we can throw this out. Now, where the oil sensor was, we can go ahead and just remove this clip so we can get the wires free. You can see there is a bullet connection that goes into our kill switch and our coil kill wire here. We can go ahead and just remove this, unplug it. And then there's also another little 8mm bolt holding in this little box for the kill switch that has the wires coming from it. We can go ahead and remove that as well. And now we can just go ahead and discard of this. Now we can start working on removing the governor. What we will have to do is we will have to cut this tip off with a Dremel, or either if you have like some bolt cutters, you can just snip this off. We just need to get a little bit of this section trimmed here, so then there's enough room for the governor arm on the inside moving back and forth, so there's enough room for that to slide down and slide out. So let's go ahead and cut this with the Dremel. And now before you begin cutting, make sure you wear eye and ear protection, and you do this in a well-ventilated area. I also recommend putting the side cover back on so you don't get any shavings inside the block, and also cover up the intake and exhaust ports there so you don't get any shavings within the head. Let's go ahead and get this thing cut. Now we can go ahead and remove this clip that was holding on the governor arm, just like that. And we should be able to go from the inside, and we should be able to pull down and fully remove the governor arm. And just like that, the governor arm will come out, and there should be a little washer on there. Make sure you collect that washer, because you don't want that sitting in your engine. Now looking inside the engine, we can go ahead and remove this little plastic cover on the governor. Slide that off just like that, and there should be a washer behind that as well. Make sure you grab that washer. You don't want to leave that inside the engine. We're going to go ahead and remove the governor, and looking down inside, you can see there is a little circlip that the pick is pointing at. A little tiny C-clip that is around there. We will need to bust that off and pry it from the shaft here so we can get this plastic governor gear out. So let's go ahead and do that now. So you can see the little clip that I'm going after right here. You can see it's all bent out now. So what I pretty much did is I just grabbed the screwdriver and hit it with the hammer a couple times to bend out that clip there. And once you get it bent out enough, it should be able to just come straight off. Now you can go ahead and get a pair of pliers to pull on the plastic governor gear to get it off. Now we can get our pliers in there and pull on the governor gear, and it should come right out, just like that. And you can see that's the last washer on the very back we need to get out, so you can go ahead and just grab a pick and just slide it on out, just like that, and you make sure you grab it out of the block. And just like that, the governor and the oil sensor are completely removed. Now let's go ahead and grab a bolt to tap into the block there to patch that hole up, and we can go ahead and start reinstalling all of our parts. And this is the bolt I'm going to be using to plug the governor arm hole. It is a 1/4 20 self-tapper or metal thread cutting screw, and you can get one either that's 1/2 inch or this one here is 3/4, which is going to be perfect to plug the governor arm hole. So let's go ahead and get this installed. Now I'm going to go ahead and plug this hole. I'm going to throw some red thread locker on here, as we do not want this bolt to be coming loose. Now we can just go ahead and get this started in there, make sure it's nice and straight. And once it's pretty much started and it's nice and straight, we can just go ahead and hit it with the impact. And just make sure you just inspect the inside of the block, make sure there's no debris or metal shavings. You don't want anything inside of the engine. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and remove my spark plug so I can pull the engine over a little bit easier, and I can go ahead and reinstall my lifters and my cam. Now with our spark plug out and everything cleaned up inside of the engine, I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall my lifters. Gonna go ahead and just throw a little bit of oil on there so they don't go in dry. Now with the spark plug removed, I'm going to go ahead and pull off our valve cover here. So we have access to our push rods and our valves, and we can adjust the lash. Now we can go ahead and reinstall our cam. Going to put a little bit of oil on this as well so it doesn't go in dry. And now when installing the cam, you can see there's a little dot on the cam, and there's also a little dot on the crankshaft, and you're going to want to line those two up so the engine is in time. And just like that, you can see those dots are perfectly lined up. Now we can go ahead and throw on a new gasket and throw our side cover on. And now with the surface being cleaned, we can go ahead and throw on our new gasket. And with our side cover all nice and cleaned up, we can go ahead and throw this on. Just like that, snaps right into place. Now we can go ahead and reinstall all our 6 bolts that hold the side cover on. Now we can go ahead and torque down 6 of the side cover bolts to 204 inch-pounds. Now I'm going to go ahead and loosen up my rocker arms. Now we're going to go ahead and make sure the lash is in specifications. So now what we're going to do is we need to get this piston at top dead center so we can get an accurate lash reading for our rocker arms down to our valves. So let's go ahead and get the piston at top dead center. So a super easy way to do this is get something long like this to stick down. And you can see that piston's pretty much at top dead center, but we're going to go ahead and check it anyways. So just pulling with the pull start here, you can see it drops down, and you can see the exhaust port opens, goes back up, and now it's going back down, and then the intake just opened, and then the exhaust just opened for a split second. So now we want to get this all the way back up, just like that, right there. We are at top dead center, so now we can go ahead and check our lash from our rockers to the valves there, and using something like this is real handy. Now the piston's at top dead center, we can go ahead and set our lash. We're going to be setting our lash to 3 thousandths. That's what the stock Predator 212 calls for the intake and the exhaust, and just like that, it passes the test perfect on both sides. So now we can go ahead and throw a little bit of oil on here, throw on our new gasket, and get this all tightened up. And now we can just go ahead and tighten up our valve cover. Just snug it up, don't over tighten this. Now we can go ahead and start installing our carburetor. So now we can go ahead and install our aftermarket Mikuni carburetor manifold here. And then here is our gasket. And then I also like to put just a very tiny bit of Loctite on these as well. Now we can go ahead and snug this up. Now that we got our manifold installed, we can go ahead and install our carburetor. And a little trick you can do is you can remove the slide from the carburetor and look down into the carburetor and make sure it's fully aligned with the manifold. Now I can snug this all up, get this all nice and tight. So before we go ahead and reinstall the gas tank, I gotta put a new fuel line on here, as the old one is not gonna be long enough for the new carburetor. So let's go ahead and put a new fuel line on here. I'm just going to take this clamp off here. Now we can slide our new fuel line on. Now we can go ahead and install this. Route the fuel line underneath there. I think that'll be a good length there, so I can cut it right there. Now I can go ahead and press on the fuel line. Perfect, and just like that, our fuel line's completely installed. Now let's go ahead and bolt in our gas tank. Go ahead and reinstall the 2 nuts on the front. Now I can go ahead and reinstall the bolt that goes in the back of the gas tank. Now we can go ahead and tighten it down. Tighten up the nuts in the front. Perfect. Now our gas tank's installed. Now we can go ahead and install our new exhaust gasket and our header pipe and tighten it down with the nuts. Perfect, nice and tight. And now the finishing touches, let's go ahead and install our air filter and put oil in this engine. Here's our air filter. We're going to slide that on over and just tighten it up. Now let's go ahead and install some oil. Now let's just fill it up with oil. And as you can see, it's filled up all the way to the threads, so we are good to go. Some fresh 10W30. And check it out, just like that, we are done with the Stage 1 kit install. We did a oil sensor removal, a governor removal, a 26mm Mikuni style carburetor, and a header pipe. This is the perfect entry-level build for someone out there who's just getting into mini bikes or who wants a little bit more power for their stock Predator 212. With all that being said, let's get this thing slapped back into the bike and let's get a little montage. Check it out. This thing looks sweet. With that chrome header pipe, that big boy carburetor, this thing is gonna rip. Most importantly, it's gonna sound sick and we're gonna get a little bit more tuning ability and performance out of these upgrades. Now I did opt for a 26mm Mikuni style carburetor. Normally I like to run the 22s as they're perfect for the Predator 212s, but there was a deal on this 26mm and I wanted to try it out. It does seem like these are a little lean jetting wise from the factory, so I replaced the stock 100 main jet with a 108 main jet. It also seemed like the air fuel mixture was a little rich on this, so I decided to lean it out a little bit. So now with all that being said, let's throw in some fresh 91 octane and see if she starts. Alrighty, let's go ahead and pour in our fresh 91. Alrighty, and we are ready to go. Let's see if she starts. I'm not even gonna use the choke or anything like that. Go ahead and just prime the motor a couple times. Get the oil all worked around. Alrighty, let's see if she starts. First pull. Man, this thing runs and idles perfectly. That's awesome. Now it's time for a little test ride. Now we are going to be doing a little 0 to 30 and a top speed run to see how fast we can get this Predator 212 with the Mikuni, the header pipe, and the governor removal to go. In our last couple videos we've made with this bike, we hit a max top speed of 51 miles per hour. So now with our new upgrades, let's see how fast we go. So for our timed 0 to 30, we ran a 570, a little under 6 seconds. Wow, that is way quicker than before. And for our top speed run, we hit a max top speed of 56.8 miles per hour, almost 57 miles per hour. That's impressive. And just like that, the video results and the numbers speak for themselves. This thing is a certified ripper. And unfortunately, the GoPro speedometer was just way off, but I tried my hardest to get an accurate 0 to 30 time, as well as an accurate max top speed. I used my speedometer app, which is pretty legit, and that showed that we hit a max top speed of 56.8 miles per hour. And as far as a 0 to 30 time, I tried my best, and we ran some pretty good numbers. If you look back at our previous videos, previously, before we modified this Predator 212, it ran a 930 for our 0 to 30 test. What a huge difference. And now after installing our performance parts, we ran a 570 in our timed 0 to 30 mile per hour test. That's just a little over 3.5 seconds we shaved off. What a huge difference. And even putting numbers and everything aside, I'll tell you what, this thing starts first pull every single time, whether it's hot or cold, no choke needed. This thing idles and runs so smooth, way smoother than a stock carburetor could ever even think about running. And as far as cruising, you can feel there's so much modulation in the throttle, and it is so nice to cruise this thing, whereas before with the stock carburetor and the stock throttle assembly, it was like 0 to 100. There was no in between. So man, what a huge difference. And with that being said, that concludes this video installing a stage 1 kit with a Mikuni style carburetor on our Predator 212 Monster Moto project. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys comment, like, and subscribe, and you stay tuned, as you do not want to miss the upcoming videos we got planned. Peace.